Hey everyone, my name is Rich. Thanks for checking out this video about the classic Avalon Hill wargame, Squad Leader. My previous videos were playthroughs of some of the tactical training scenarios that were put out back in the day by Squad Leader Academy. But with this video, I'm going to play through the first scenario that was included in the box with the original Squad Leader game. That scenario, of course, is the Guards Counterattack. If you mention the Battle of Stalingrad to the average history buff, their mind will automatically go to the titanic, brutal struggle that was waged for possession of that city by the Germans and Soviets during World War II. From August 1942 to February 1943, Stalingrad was the scene of some of the most unrelenting and fiercest fighting of the Second World War. The city was pounded into rubble as the Germans and Soviets fought street by street and block by block. Buildings within the factory complexes, as well as individual houses, changed hands time and again as the opposing forces found themselves locked in a struggle to the death in the apocalyptic landscape. The turning point came in November when a massive Soviet counteroffensive was launched against the enemy forces holding the front lines around Stalingrad. By November 23rd, the advancing Soviets had completed the encirclement of Stalingrad. The Germans would hold out in the battered city until February 2nd, when they finally surrendered. Without a doubt, the Battle of Stalingrad was one of the epic clashes of World War II. So, if you mention the battle to the average history buff, that's what they'll think of. But if you mention the battle to your average squad leader player, while they'll probably think of all those things too, their mind will almost certainly also automatically go to the first three scenarios that were included in the original game: the Guards Counterattack, the Tractor Works, and the Streets of Stalingrad. If Squad Leader is one of the most played titles in the history of wargaming, it's probably not going too far out on a limb to say that the most played Squad Leader scenario over the last 45 or so years is the Guards Counterattack. Because it's scenario number one, and because of the programmed instruction used in the rulebook, it's therefore the first scenario that most of us probably played. And that's why the Guards Counterattack holds a special spot in the world of Squad Leader. So, although the gameplay with it is relatively straightforward, and there's not a lot of opportunity to exercise much tactical creativity, nevertheless, I still find I'm approaching this playthrough and this video with some butterflies in my stomach, just because the scenario is the Guards Counterattack, and it has kind of been placed on a pedestal. So all of that's to say that hopefully I'll do it justice, and hopefully the butterflies will go away, and I'll not only have fun playing it, but you'll enjoy watching this video. Let's take a look at the scenario card. With the scenario description, we see it's October 6, 1942, and we read, "After an extremely successful summer, the Germans came upon the Volga fortress of Stalingrad. Here the Russians had dug in and were determined to make a stand. Sensing total victory, the Germans threw more and more troops into the fighting. But for the first time, German infantry found the Russians their equal. Rebuffed by the stiff resistance, the Germans committed crack assault engineers. Gradually, the Germans cleared one block and then another, only to lose them again to sudden Russian counterattacks. By October 5th, the Germans had almost taken the Tractor Works. However, the fighting had been so heavy that the line troops occupying the surrounding area were exceptionally weak from the previous week's fighting. The Russians counterattacked with their crack 37th Guards to break the ring the Germans had thrown around the factory and reinforce the defenders." Okay, as far as board configuration, we're on good old board 1, but we'll only be using rows A through P inclusive. For this playthrough, we'll go ahead and only use rule sections 1 through 21, just as if it's 1977 and we've only this minute opened the box and are starting to learn the rules using the programmed instruction approach that is suggested on the first page of the rulebook. Anyway, then the victory conditions tell us that to win, the Soviets must completely occupy 2 more of the stone buildings initially occupied by the Germans than they lose of their initial stone buildings, or have a favorable 3-to-1 ratio of unbroken squads at game end. To be completely occupied in your favor, no enemy squad or officer can be in the building at game end, and your forces must have been the last to have occupied any hex of the building with an unbroken unit. The German wins by avoiding the Soviet victory conditions. Then we see the Germans set up first, and the Russians move first. There are 5 turns. With regard to each side's order of battle, the Germans get 5 leaders, 13 4.67s, 8 LMGs, 1 MMG, and 1 HMG. The Russians get 3 leaders, 9 4.47s, 12 6.28s, and 1 MMG. Setup for both sides is restricted to the designated buildings, which we'll see when we take a look at the board, although the special rule down here at the bottom of the scenario card tells us, in all scenarios, units may deploy anywhere within the designated building, not just in the designated hex used to identify the building. Okay, that's that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the board and each side's setup. Here we are on board 1. German sets up first, and since I7 and M9 are 1 hex buildings, there's no thought that needs to be given about where those units will be placed. In I7, there's the 9.2 leader, 3 4.67s, and 3 LMGs. And in M9, there's the 8.1 leader, 1 squad, and the HMG. With the other 3 locations, some thought is required as far as placement since they're multi-hex buildings. In building F5, the 9.1 leader and 2 4.67s are in F6, while 1 squad and 2 LMGs are over here in H5. In building K5, 2 squads and the 2 LMGs are in J4. The other squad is in K5, and the 8.0 leader is back in J5. Finally, in building M7, the 8.1 leader, 2 squads, and MMG are in L6, while the other squad and the LMG are in M7. The Russians set up second, and J2, M2, and N2 are 1 hex buildings. So in J2 goes the 9.1 leader, 1 4.47, and the MMG. In M2 goes 3 squads, and in N2 goes 1 squad. Then in building F3 are the dozen 6.28s with the 10.2 leader in G4. And last but not least, in building N4, 2 4.47s are in M5, the other 2 are in N5, and the 8.0 leader takes station in N4. So if we hide the pieces for a minute, we see the Russians start out in 1 wooden building and 4 stone buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the Germans start out in 5 stone buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, with regard to those stone buildings, at game end, the Russians have to occupy 2 more of the buildings initially occupied by the Germans, then they, the Russians, lose during the course of the game. So, for instance, if the Russians lose 0 buildings, they must have captured 2 of the German buildings. If the Russians lose 1 building, they have to capture 3 German buildings, and so on. Or, buildings completely aside, the Russians must have 3 times as many good order squads on the board at game end than the Germans. And as far as that, at start, the Russians have 21 squads, while the Germans have 13. So as far as the victory conditions, each player will keep one eye on buildings captured and lost, and keep the other eye on the number of squads lost or broken by game end. All right, that's the board and each side's set up. So let's start playing through the Guards' counterattack. All right, Russian turn 1. First up, of course, is the rally phase. However, here at the start of the scenario, there's nothing to do in the rally phase. So we'll move right along to the prep fire phase. And the first shots of our game of the Guards' counterattack will be fired, appropriately enough, by some of the Russian guards. The stack in G4 will fire at the Germans across the street in H5. That'll be 18 firepower, so it'll use the 16 column on the IFT. The dice roll will be modified by -2 for the leader and +3 for the stone building. So the attack ends up being a 16 + 1. The roll is 5, +1 is 6, which is a 2 morale check. The German squad will roll that 2 morale check. It rolls 7 + 2 is 9, so it breaks. Next, the 9-1 leader, 447 and MMG will fire at the German squads in J4. That'll be 8 firepower, -1 for the leader, +3 for the building, so the attack will be an 8 + 2. The roll is 4 + 2 is 6, which is a 1 morale check. The Germans will roll that 1 morale check. First squad, 8 + 1 is 9, so it breaks. The second squad, 6 + 1 is 7, so it's okay. Then the squads in M5 and N5 will form a fire group and target the Germans over in L6. So that'll be 16 firepower, +3 for the building. The roll is 4 + 3 is 7, which is a 2 morale check. The Germans will roll that 2 morale check. Leader first. He rolls 5 plus 2 is 7, so he's okay. Now the squads can apply his -1. First squad, 7 plus 1 is 8, so it breaks. The other squad, 4 plus 1 is 5, so it's okay. Finally, let's go back over here, and the guards in E4 will also fire at that German squad in H5. That'll be 18 firepower, but the Russians' range of 2 hexes means it'll be halved for long-range fire to 9, so it'll end up on the 8 column of the IFT. There's +3 for the building. The roll is 9 plus 3 is 12, so a miss. That is all for prep fire. Next is the Russian movement phase. And this is probably a good time to let you guys know that, like I have in the other videos, here I'll also be using the optional semi-simultaneous movement and defensive fire roll. Okay, well, anyway, the 6-2-8s in F3 are going to slide over to D4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4, 4, 7 from M2 will go up and around and end up in K1. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. The other 2 squads in M2 will go to N3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the squad in N2 will join them. So 1, 2. That's it for movement. So next is the defensive fire phase. And there are going to be a lot of bullets flying through the air. The Germans over here in F6 will target the guards who just moved into D4. So that'll be 8 firepower, -1 for the leader, +2 for the wooden building. So the attack will end up being an 8 plus 1. The roll is 6 plus 1 is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The guards will roll that 1 morale check. 10 plus 1 is 11, so 1 breaks. 7 plus 1 is 8, so 1 is okay. Thank goodness for that 8 morale. The last one, 6 plus 1 is 7, so the last one is okay. So 1 broke. Next, the 9-2 stack in I7 will fire up at the comrades in J2 who have the MMG. The line of sight is good. The Germans are going to leave 1 LMG out of the attack, so that'll be 16 firepower. -2 for the leader, +3 for the building, so it'll be a 16 plus 1. The roll is 8 plus 1 is 9, which is a 1 morale check. The Russians will roll that 1 morale check. Leader first. 6 plus 1 is 7, so he's okay. Now the squad. Ooh, snake eyes. You know what that means. When a Russian unit rolls a 2 on a morale check, it becomes berserk. There we go. Let's put it right at the top of the stack there. As you guys will recall, we looked at what happened with berserk units back in the second video that I did. So I won't go over all of that again here. Instead, we'll just play it out. But continuing with the Germans' defensive fire, the Germans in J4 will fire. See, now it complicates things with the berserk unit because they're immune to morale checks. So the Germans in J4 will fire over at the guards in G4. That'll be the squad and 2 LMGs, so 8 firepower, +3 for the building. The roll is 6 plus 3 is 9, which is close but no cigar. Then the 467 in K5 will fire across the street at the 2 447s in M5. That'll be a 4 plus 3. The roll is 3 plus 3 is 6, which is a morale check. The Russians will roll that morale check. First squad, 8, so it breaks. Second squad, 5, so it's okay. Next, the Germans in L6 will do M5 also. So that'll be the Unbroken Squad and MMG. So 8 firepower, -1 for the leader, +3 for the building. So the attack will be an 8 plus 2. The roll is 3 plus 2 is 5, which is a 2 morale check. The Russians will roll that 2 morale check, top to bottom. So broken squad first. 10 plus 2 is 12, so it's eliminated. The other squad, 4 plus 2 is 6, so it's okay. And let's just start a dead pile up here. Then the squad and LMG in M7 will target the 2 447s in N5. That'll be 6 firepower, +3 for the building. The roll is 8 plus 3 is 11, so no effect. Finally, since the line of sight from M9 just squeaks by the corner of that building up to N5, the German HMG and squad will also fire at the 2 447s there. That'll be 10 firepower, which will use the 8 column on the IFT, -1 for the leader, +3 for the building, so the attack is an 8 + 2. The roll is 7 + 2 is 9, which just misses. That is all for defensive fire, which was quite a lot. So now it's the advancing fire phase. And the only advancing fire will be the 2 good 628s in D4 versus the Germans in F6. That'll be 12 firepower, halved for advancing fire to 6, halved again for long range fire to 3. So it'll be on the 2 column, +3 for the building. So the attack will be a 2 + 3. The roll is 6 + 3 is 9, which is a miss. Next is the rout phase. And first, let's tidy things up and just get rid of all these fire counters. Then, as far as routing, the Russian squad here will just stay put, but the German squad in J4 will scoot back to the 8-0 leader. The squad in H5 would like to route over to the 9-1 leader in F6, but that's a no-no since that would actually take it closer to the Russians in D4. So instead, it'll go back to H7. And when it's in H6, there's no line of sight to J2. And although there's line of sight over to M5 and N5, that's not within the normal range of those 447s. So it's okay for it to route through H6. Finally, the broken German squad here will duck back to L7, and the 8-1 leader will go with it. That is it as far as routing. So next is the advance phase. And there's going to be a lot of advancing. First off, the Berserker will start berserking and charge out into the street as it lunges for the closest Germans in J4. Then the guards here will go into H3. The 447 in K1 will go to K2. These 3 squads will go to the building in M4. And then, seeing their berserk comrades charge out into the street nearby, the guards over here decide to creep carefully out into the street, into G5, and these fellows follow their lead and go out into F4. And last but not least, one of the 447s in N5 will just scoot next door to M5. That is all for the advance phase. There's no close combat, so that brings us to the end of the first Russian turn. Okay, German turn 1, and it's the rally phase. First up, the squad in J5 will give it a try, but there's the +4 for desperation morale. It rolls. 5 + 4 is 9, so fail. Next, over here, this squad will try. There's +4 for desperation morale, but -1 for the leader. It rolls. 7 + 3 is 10, so fail. That's all, but we can remove everyone's DM counters. Alright, that's it. So now it's the prep fire phase. To kick things off, these Germans will fire at these Russians. That'll be 8 firepower, -1 for the leader, +2 for the building, so it'll be an 8 + 1. The roll is 6 + 1 is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The Russians will roll that 1 morale check, top to bottom, so broken squad. 4 + 1 is 5, so it's okay. Next one, 12 + 1 is 13, so that one breaks. The third one, 8 + 1 is 9, so it breaks also. Break. Break. Then the 9-2 stack will fire at the guards up in H3. The line of sight just squeaks by the corner of the building. The Germans will leave 1 LMG out of the attack again. So that'll be 16 firepower, -2 for the leader, +2 for the building. So it'll be 16 even. The roll is 6, which is a 2 morale check. The guards squads will roll that 2 morale check. First one, 7 + 2 is 9, so 1 breaks. Second one, 9 + 2 is 11, another breaks. Third one, 4 + 2 is 6, that one is okay. Next, this squad and 2 LMGs will ignore the Berserker, which would only be affected by a KIA, and instead will try to get some bang for their buck and fire at the Russians in the street over in F4. That'll be an 8 even. The roll is 5, which is a 2 morale check. The Russians will roll that 2 morale check. 3 + 2 is 5, it's okay. 9 + 2 is 11, breaks. Another 3 + 2 is 5, that one's okay. So 1 breaks. Then the LMG's penetration factor of 2 will allow them to also hit the Russians in G5 using that same dice roll. That'll be 4 firepower. The roll was 5, which here on the 4 column is a 1 morale check. So the Russians will roll that 1 morale check, leader first. A 10 plus 1 is 11, so he breaks. It's bad luck for the Russians. Now the squads. 7 plus 1 is 8, so 1 is okay. 9 plus 1 is 10, so 1 breaks. 11 plus 1 is 12, the last one breaks. But the squads have to take another morale check because the leader broke, so we'll do that top to bottom. 8, it's okay. 9, one of the broken squads is eliminated. The other broken squad, another 9, so that one is also eliminated. That's it for prep fire. So now it's the Germans' movement phase. This squad will move to J5. Then both these squads and their MGs will duck back to L7. Then the 8-1 squad and HMG will move up into M8. That's all for movement, so now it's the defensive fire phase. And the guards squads in F4 and G5 will form a fire group and target the German 467 in J4. That'll be 18 firepower, halved for long-range fire to 9. So the attack will use the 8 column here on the IFT. There's +3 for the building. The roll is 12 plus 3 is 15, which is a big, big miss. Next, the Berserker, the 9-1 leader, and the 447 in K2 will form a fire group also, and will also target the German squad in J4. So the Berserker's 4 firepower will be doubled for point-blank fire to 8. The leader will fire the MMG at half firepower, so that's 2. Then with the 4 from the squad, it totals 14 firepower. So it'll be on the 12 column on the IFT, +3 for the building. The roll is 10 plus 3 is 13, so a swing and a miss. Next, the 1 squad still standing in H3 will also fire at the 467 in J4. That'll be a 6 plus 3. The roll is 7 plus 3 is 10, which is a miss. Next, the 2 447s in M5 will fire at the 9-2 stack. That'll be an 8 plus 3. The roll is 5 plus 3 is 8, which is a morale check. The Germans will roll that morale check. Leader first. 7, so he's okay. And now the squads can use his -2. Squad number 1. 6 minus 2 is 4, so it's okay. Squad number 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. It's okay. Squad number 3. Another 5. Minus 2 is 3. It's also okay. Last, the 447 and N5 will fire at the Germans in J5. That'll be a 4 plus 3. The roll is 4. Plus 3 is 7, which is no effect. But the broken 467 does get DM'd again. That's it for defensive fire. So now it's the advancing fire phase. And the only advancing fire will be the 467 in J5 versus the guards in F4. The LOS is good. So that'll be 4 firepower, halved for advancing fire to 2. So the attack is a 2 even. The roll is 7, which is a miss. Next is the rout phase. Let's tidy things up and remove all the fire counters. All right, the broken 10-2 leader will go back to G4. The 2 squads here will also go to G4. The squad in F4 would like to go to G4 also to be with the leader, but it can't route closer to the Germans over here. So instead it'll go back to F3. That takes us to the advance phase. The 8-1 stack will move into M7. The 2 squads and 2 MGs here will move up into L6. There we go. And the 467 in J5 will move back from whence it came. That's all for the advance phase. There's no close combat, so that brings us to the end of the first German turn. Russian turn 2. Rally phase. The 10-2 leader will try to pull himself together, although he does have the +4 for desperation morale hanging around his neck. His roll is 6, +4 is 10, so he does manage to pull himself together. And now the squads can use his -2. First squad, 4 + 2 is 6, so it rallies. Second squad, 5 + 2 is 7, so it also rallies. Then over here, this 467 will try again. It rolls 7 + 4 is 11, so no. Then over here, this 467 will try again. 6 - 1 is 5, so it does rally. Then these guards are all left high and dry without a leader, so they just have to sit and stew in their brokenness. But we can remove everyone's desperation morale. So that's all for the rally phase. Next is the prep fire phase. And the Russian player makes a mental note that the Berserk squad actually isn't allowed to prep fire since it's required to keep charging the nearest enemy. But at any rate, the Russian player's plan from the beginning was to take buildings F5 and K5 while hanging on to building N4. And it appeared his assault on F5 had hit a snag when the 10-2 leader, as well as quite a few guard squads, were broken. But with the 10-2 leader rallied now, the Russian player thinks that things on that front can get back on track now. Then, with having a squad go berserk and launched at building K5, the Russian 9-1 leader and other 447 are hopefully going to be able to follow its lead. In fact, if some prep fire can knock out the German squad in J4, then the leader and 447 will take advantage of the opportunity to move forward this turn. All right, so it is the prep fire phase. And to start things off, the three squads here in M4 will fire across the street at the Germans in K5. That'll be 12 firepower plus 3, 12 plus 3. The roll is 5 plus 3 is 8, which is a 1 morale check. The German squad will roll that 1 morale check. It rolls 7 plus 1 is 8, so it breaks. Then the guards squads in H3, G4, F4, and G5 will form a 4-hex fire group and target the German squad in J4. That's 6 firepower, 6 here because it's halved for long-range fire, 6 here because that's also halved for long-range fire, and 3 for long-range fire. That totals 21 firepower, so it'll be on the 20 column on the IFT, plus 3 for the building. The roll is 7 plus 3 is 10, which is a 1 morale check. The German squad will roll that 1 morale check. 11 plus 1 is 12. So it breaks. And with that, every German squad in building K5 is broken. That's all for prep fire. So next is the Russian movement phase. The squads in M5 and N5 are going to skulk. They'll move back there. Then this squad up in K2 will move to J2. And the Germans down in I7 will take the opportunity to defensive fire. Again, the Germans leave out 1 LMG, so the attack will end up being a 16 plus 1. The The roll is 10 plus 1 is 11, which just misses. So a swarm of bullets fly through the air, but harmlessly. So the 447 will pick up the MMG and continue its move to J3. And it spends a total of 3 movement factors. 1, 2, 3. And then the 9-1 will join it there. That's it for movement. So next is the defensive fire phase. And since the 9-2 stack already fired, the only other defensive fire now will be these Germans against these Russians. So that'll be an 8 plus 1. The roll is 6 plus 1 is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The guards will roll that 1 morale check. 9 plus 1 is 10, so 1 is eliminated. 6 plus 1 is 7, 1 is okay. 4 plus 1 is 5, the last one is okay. That's all for defensive fire, so next is the advancing fire phase. The Berserker and the 447 that moved will fire at the broken 467 next door. The MMG can't fire after being moved, but once the Berserker's 4 firepower is doubled for point-blank fire to 8, the 447's is halved for advancing fire, but doubled for point-blank fire, so that's 4. So that's 8 plus 4 is 12. There'll be minus 1 for the leader, plus 3 for the building, so it ends up a 12 plus 2. After all that, the roll is 6 plus 2 is 8, which is a 1 morale check. The broken 467 will roll that 1 morale check. It rolls 10 plus 1 is 11, so it's eliminated. That is it for advancing fire, so next is the rout phase. And the only routing will be here to here. There we go. That takes us to the advance phase. And there'll be quite a lot of advancing by the Russians. First of all, you guys may have noticed the Berserker has been left without a German unit in its line of sight. The 467 next door was eliminated, and the line of sight down to H7 is just cut by the corner of the building. So, of course, there's no line of sight to I7 either. So that begs the question, what is the Berserker supposed to do now? Well, the answer to that question can be found here. If the unit in the target hex a Berserker is charging is eliminated or moves out of line of sight, and there are no other enemy units in the Berserker's line of sight, does that Berserker still charge towards the original target hex? Answer: yes, and it will immediately charge the first enemy unit to which it obtains line of sight. If it reaches the original target hex without seeing another enemy unit, it must stop there until it has a line of sight to another enemy unit, when it must charge the... So, there you go. All right, so let's just move everyone from here into J4. Then the skulkers will all move back. Then all the guards over here will either advance into or in the direction of building F5. That is it. And since there's no close combat, that's the end of the Russians' second turn. German turn 2, rally phase. And the only rallying will be an attempt by the two broken 4-6-7s here. The one without desperation morale rolls 6, so it succeeds. The other one with desperation morale rolls 8 plus 4 is 12, so no. Prep fire phase. The Germans in F6 suddenly have hostiles all up in their grill, so they'll let loose with a 16 plus 2 on the Russians in F5. That's 8 firepower doubled for a point blank fire to 16. -1 for the leader, +3 for the building, so that's the 16 plus 2. The roll is 10 plus 2 is 12, which is no effect. Next, the 9-2 stack, once again -1 LMG, will fire at the Russians in M5. That'll be a 16 plus 1. The roll is 6 plus 1 is 7, which is a 2 morale check. The Russian squads will roll that 2 morale check. 10 plus 2 is 12, so 1 breaks. 6 plus 2 is 8, so the other one also breaks. Next, the 2 squads and the MMG in L6 will also fire at M5. That'll be a 12 plus 3. The roll is 2 plus 3 is 5, which is another 2 morale check. 2 broken Russian squads will roll that 2 morale check. 6 plus 2 is 8. 1 is eliminated. 7 plus 2 is 9. The other is eliminated. Next, the HMG and squad will fire at the 447 across the street in N5. That'll be an 8 plus 2. The roll is 9 plus 2 is 11, which is no effect. A movement phase. The Germans in J5 will be hit with a 30 firepower attack if they stay put. So the 8-0 leader and good order squad are going to make a break for it and take their chances. As they dash out into J6, the Russian player has them hit the pause button, and the 3-4-4-7s in M4 will let loose at them. The LOS is good. That'll be a 12 minus 2. The roll is 8 minus 2 is 6, which is a 2 morale check. The Germans will roll that 2 morale check. Leader first. He rolls 5 plus 2 is 7, so he's okay. The squad, it rolls 8 plus 2 is 10, so it breaks. And we can place a tracking counter there. Then the guard squad in H4 will also take advantage of the opportunity to open fire on them. That'll be halved for long range fire, so it ends up on the 2 column with a -2 to the dice roll. The roll is 8 minus 2 is 6, which just misses. And with that, the leader will finish his move and hop into K7. Okay. Then, still movement. Over here, the leader and squad will move up into M7. Defensive fire phase. The 447 in N5 will fire at the stack in L6. That'll be a 4 plus 3. The roll is 6 plus 3 is 9, which is a miss. Next, the 2 squads and the 2 captured LMGs here will fire at the broken German squad down in H7. That'll be 12 firepower. Plus 1, -1 for the leader, +2 for the building, so it ends up being a +1. The roll is 8 plus 1 is 9, which is a morale check. The broken German squad will roll that morale check. 5, so it's okay. Finally, the guards squads in F5 and G6 will team up and fire at the Germans next door. That'll be 18 firepower, doubled for point blank fire to the 36 column, +3 for the building. The roll is 7 plus 3 is 10, which is a 2 morale check. The Germans will roll that 2 morale check. Leader first. 9 plus 2 is 11, so he breaks. First squad. 7 plus 2 is 9, so it breaks. Second squad, 4 plus 2 is 6, so it's okay. Now the squads have to take another morale check, of course, because the leader broke. 4, okay. 6, also okay. All right. Advancing fire phase. The squad that moved up into M7 will fire at the Russian squad in N5. That'll be 2 firepower because of advancing fire. -1 for the leader, +3 for the building, so a 2 plus 2. The roll is 7 plus 2 is 9, which is no effect. Route phase. Let's remove the fire counters. The leader and squad here are eliminated since they must route but can't do so except through open ground out in front of God and everybody. The same fate will befall the squad in J5. So that leaves the squad in J6, which will follow the 8-0 leader into K7. Advance phase. And the squad here is going to take its chances and try and get out of there. Next, here, squad will move into N6. The leader will move into M6. Everyone here will also go into M6, and these fellows will hop over to L6. That's it. And since there's no close combat, that's the end of the Germans' second turn. Russian turn 3. First up is the rally phase, and the only possible rallying is here. And the roll is 11 plus 4 is 15, so a big no. Let's remove everyone's DM counters though. Next, the prep fire phase. So the German player tipped his hand in the last turn. It's clear he's willing to give up buildings F5 and K5, or had just resigned himself to the fact it would be almost impossible to hold them. So he pulled back, pulled out of them, but he's obviously going to make a push to capture building N4, which means the Russian player now needs to do what he can to thwart the German player's strategy. Thwart it, I say. All right. At any rate, for prep fire, the 447 in N5 will fire at the stack in M6. That'll be doubled for point blank fire, so it'll be an 8 even. The roll is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The Germans will roll that 1 morale check, leader first. 6 plus 1 is 7, so he's okay. And now the squads can use his -1, so it'll be a normal morale check for them. First squad, 8, breaks. Second squad, 4, okay. That's it for prep fire. So next is the Russian movement phase. The leader 447 and MMG will hustle over to the other side of the building into K5. As for the Berserk squad, it can now see the broken 467 in H7. So it grabs both LMGs and starts to charge toward the 467 by the shortest route in movement factors. So that takes it out into I5, but when it enters I5, it spots the Germans in I7, which are closer. And since they're closer, they now become the new target of the Berserker's charge. So the Berserker will go to I6, and the 9-2 stack in I7 decides to let her rip and take care of the Berserker problem. With point blank fire, that'll be a 36 -4. The roll is 10 minus 4 is 6, which is a KIA. Alrighty, well, that Berserk squad was fun while it lasted, but all good things must come to an end. And technically, we can actually put a tracking counter there in that hex. Next, we're still doing the Russians' movement. One squad will move from F5 to F6. The other squad will move to G6. These fellows will move to H5. Then this guard squad is going to dash across the street. And since I'm using the optional semi-simultaneous movement and defensive fire roll, I don't think the penetration factor of the German LMGs will kick in, since that rule states that only units which subsequently move between the fire and target hex can be hit with the MG's penetrating fire. In any case, that's the way I'm going to play it. So the 628 scoots safely across the street using 3 movement factors. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's it for movement. So now it's the defensive fire phase. The squad here in F7 will fire at the 628 that moved adjacent to it. With point blank fire, that'll be an 8 plus 3. The roll is 6 plus 3 is 9, which is a miss. Next, the Germans over here in L6 and M6 will form a fire group and fire at the Russian 9-1 leader and 447 in K5. That'll be 10 firepower plus 6 from the squad and LMG, -1 for the leaders, plus 3 for the building. So the attack will end up being a 16 plus 2. The roll is 5 plus 2 is 7, which is a 2 morale check. The Russians will roll that 2 morale check, leader first. 9 plus 2 is 11, so he breaks. The 447, 6 plus 2 is 8, so it breaks. Now the squad's leader lost morale check, 7, so it's okay. Then the 467 and N6 will fire at the Russian squad right next door. That'll be an 8 plus 3. The roll is 5 plus 3 is 8, which is a morale check. The 447 will roll that morale check. 8, so it breaks. That's all for defensive fire. So next is the advancing fire phase. The guard squad in G6 that didn't move will form a fire group with the one in F6 that did move, and they'll fire at the 467 out in the open in F7. The attack will end up being a 12 even. The roll is 10, which just misses. Then the squads that moved into G6 and H5 will form a fire group and target I7. And that ends up being an 8 plus 3. The roll is 4 plus 3 is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The Germans will roll that 1 morale check, leader first. 4 plus 1 is 5, so he's okay. And now the squads can use his -1. Squad number 1, 6 minus 1 is 5, so okay. Squad number 2, 8 minus 1 is 7, so okay. Squad number 3, 12 minus 1 is 11, so breaks. Finally, for advancing fire, I've left these 3 squads sit there. I forgot to prep fire them, but I'll fire them now at the leader and broken squad down in K7. So that'll be 12 firepower plus 2 for the building. And let me grab my dice here. The roll is 10 plus 2 is 12. So that's a big miss. However, the squad will get DM'd again. All right, that's it for advancing fire. So next is the rout phase. This squad will go back here. This squad and leader will leave the MMG, go back there, and for the Germans, the squad will go back to L6. Okay, advance phase. The guard squad will pop over and man the MMG. Then the 3 squads here will split up. One will go into M5, one will go to N4, and the last will go into N3. That's all for the advance phase. There's no close combat, so that brings us to the end of the 3rd Russian turn. Okay, German turn 3. First up is the rally phase. The squad in I7 will give it a try. There's the +4 for desperation morale and -2 for the leader. It rolls 7 plus 2 is 9, so fail. The squad in K7. Hey, 3 plus 4 is 7, so success. Then in L6, the squad, it rolls 10 plus 3 is 13, so no. For the Russians, the leader in K4, 11 plus 4 is 15, so fail with a capital F. Then the squad in N4. 4 plus 4 is 8, so no. But let's remove everyone's DM counters. That's it for rallying, so next is the prep fire phase. The 9-2 stack will fire at the 447 in M5. -1 LMG, that'll be 12 firepower. -2 for the leader, +3 for the building. So the attack will be a 12 plus 1. The roll is boxcars, which is not only a miss, but breaks the LMGs. Well, that is the 2 LMGs that fired. Well, that didn't work. So now the HMG only in L6 will fire at the Russian squad in M5. That'll be 6 firepower, -1 for the leader, +3 for the building. So it'll be a 6 plus 2. The roll is 11 plus 2 is 13. so a big miss. Then the squad in L6 and the squad in K7 will form a fire group and target the guards squad with the MMG over in K5. That'll be 8 and 8 plus 3. The roll of 6 plus 3 is 9, so no effect. That's all for prep fire, so next will be the German movement phase. This squad will scoot back into the building in F8. This squad will go into N5. Then these fellows will follow them. That's it for movement, so now it's the defensive fire phase. Let's start over here, and F6 and G6 and H5 will form a fire group and target the Germans in I7. So that'll be 16 firepower plus 12 plus 3, so 31 firepower, which makes it the 30 column on the IFT, plus 3 for the building. The roll is 10 plus 3 is 13, which is still a morale check. The Germans will roll that morale check, leader first. 9, so he's okay, and now the squads can use his -2. We'll go top to bottom, so broken squad first. Another 9, -2 is 7, so it just squeaks by. Next squad, 5 -2 is 3, so it's alright. Last squad, 8 -2 is 6, so it's also okay. The broken squad will get DM'd again, though. Next, K5 will fire at L6. That'll be an 8 plus 3. The roll is 9 plus 3 is 12, so a miss. But again, a broken squad gets DM'd. And last but not least, the squads in M5 and N4 will form a fire group and see if they can inflict any damage on the Germans who just moved into the building. Doubled for point blank fire, that'll be a 16 plus 3. The roll is 9 plus 3 is 12, which is a miss. That's all for defensive fire, so now it's the advancing fire phase. Let's see what happens over here. The 2 squads only will fire at the Russians in N4. And it's the 4.67s only, since the MMG can't fire after moving, and the LMG won't add anything to the attack. Anyway, once the squads are halved for advancing fire and doubled for point blank fire, it'll stay 8 firepower. -1 for the leader, plus 3 for the building, so the attack ends up being an 8 plus 2. The roll is 5 plus 2 is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The Russians will roll that 1 morale check, leader first. 4 plus 1 is 5, so he's okay. Now the good order squad. 7 plus 1 is 8, so it breaks. Already broken squad. 5 plus 1 is 6, so it's all right. Then the squad over here in F8 will fire at the nearest 628 in F6. That'll be a 2 plus 3. The roll is 6 plus 3 is 9, so no effect. Well, that's it for advancing fire. Next is the rout phase. Just tidy things up here. All right, the broken squad here will go back to L7. The Russian routing will be the 2 broken squads in N4. They're going to go all the way back to N2, and the 8-0 leader will go with them. Now, then the advance phase. The 8-0 leader will join the broken squad in L7. This squad will go up into L6. And then the Germans here will advance into close combat with the 447 there. Let's move everyone off to the side and put a close combat counter on the board. The Germans will go first with the 2 squads. That'll be 8 versus 4, so a 2-to-1. The German LMG, of course, can be added to the attack, but it won't bump up the odds. So the 2 squads, it'll be 2-to-1. The Germans can use the leader's -1 though. So the roll is 7. Even without the leader's -1, that's a kill. But now it's the Russian squad's turn, and it'll attack just one of the 467s. So that'll be 4 versus 4. So a 1-to-1. It will need to roll a 5 or less to get a kill. The roll is 11, so no. The victorious Germans will go back into hex M5. We'll put that 447 up in the dead pile. And that will take us to the end of the 3rd German turn. Russian turn 4, rally phase. The leader in K4 will try again. He rolls 8, so yes. Now the squad, it rolls 6 minus 1 is 5, so yes. Then up in N2, First squad, 7 plus 4 is 11, so no. Second squad, 8 plus 4 is 12, so no. The German squad down here, 5 plus 4 is 9, so no. And the German squad here, 9 plus 2 is 11, so no. Now the German player will also roll 2 dice for the 2 malfunctioned LMGs. A 5 and a 1, so one of them comes back online. And we can remove everyone's DM counters. Now it's the prep fire phase. The comrades over here in F6, G6, and H5 will form a fire group and target the Germans in I7. From previous experience, we know that's 31 firepower, so it will be a 30 plus 3 attack. The roll is 4 plus 3 is 7, which is a 4 morale check. Ouch. The Germans will roll that 4 morale check. Leader first. 6 plus 4 is 10, so he breaks. Now the squads, top to bottom, so broken one first. Another 6 plus 4 is 10, so the broken squad is eliminated. Now the good order ones. 3 plus 4 is 7, so 1 is okay. 9 plus 4 is 13, so the other breaks. So 1 is eliminated. 1 breaks. Now those 2 squads will take the second morale check because the leader broke. A 5, it's okay. 6, okay. Well, that could obviously be a pivotal moment in the scenario. But, okay then. The Russians in K4 and K5 will form a fire group and target the Germans across the street in M5. That'll be a 12 plus 3. The roll is 11 plus 3 is 14, so a miss. And it also breaks the MMG. That's all for prep fire, so now it's the Russian movement phase. The squad in N3 will hop out into the street. And that's it for movement. So next is the defensive fire phase. The 467 down in F8 will fire at the nearest guard squad in F6. That will be a 4 plus 3. The roll is 5 plus 3 is 8, which is a miss. Next, the only squad still standing in I7 will fire with the 2 LMGs at the 2 guard squads in G6. That'll be an 8 plus 3. The roll is 10 plus 3 is 13, which is a miss. Next, the guys in L6 will also fire over at G6. That'll be a 12 plus 2. The roll is 7 plus 2 is 9, which is a morale check. The Russian squads will roll that morale check. 10, one breaks. 6, the other is okay. And finally, the stack in M5 will fire at the 628 with the MMG. So that's the two squads and the MMG here. So 12, it'll be a 12 plus 2. The roll is 6 plus 2, which is 8, which is a 1 morale check. The Russian squad will roll that 1 morale check. 7, so it's okay. That's all for defensive fire. So now it's the advancing fire phase. There is no advancing fire, so next is the rout phase. Let's just tidy things up here. And as far as routing, the broken leader and squad here will go back to I8 and take their DM counter with them. That's it for routing. So next is the advance phase. The 447 out here in the street will go into N4. And the 9-1 leader and squad will scoot down and join the 628 there. There's no close combat, so that's the end of Russian turn number 4. German turn 4, rally phase. The leader here will give it a go. He rolls 4 plus 4 is 8, so he successfully rallies. Now the squad can try with the leader's -2. It rolls 12, so it's eliminated. The squad in I7 will roll a die to try to repair the LMG. It rolls 6, so the LMG is destroyed. Well, the way things are going, the German player is kind of afraid to roll for the squad in L7, but it rolls 5, so it successfully rallies. Across the lines, there are the 2 broken squads in N2. 3, yes. 11, no. And the malfunctioned MMG here, 4, no. That's all for the rally phase. So now it's the German prep fire phase. I know the rules state potential line of sight checks aren't allowed, but with Vassal, that kind of goes out the window. So the German player will check the line of sight from h5 to f9, and it's blocked. Because that kind of determines what this particular 4-6-7 will do this turn. Okay. Moving over here, these fellows will fire at the Ruskies in K5. Not only in an attempt to protect the backside of the Germans in M5, but also because on the off chance there are some truly spectacular results, then this squad and leader might be able to move somewhere decisive. At any rate, that'll be a 12 plus 2. The roll is 7 plus 2 is 9, so a morale check. The Russians will roll that morale check. Leader first. 7, so he's okay. Now the squads can apply his -1. The 4-4-7. 6 minus 1 is 5, so it's okay. The 6-2-8. 8 minus 1 is 7, so it's okay. Okay, well, that didn't qualify as truly spectacular results, but next the two squads and the MMG in M5 will target the 4-4-7 next door. That'll be 12 firepower, doubled for point-blank fire to 24. -1 for the leader, +3 for the building. So the attack is a 24 plus 2. The roll is 11 plus 2 is 13, so a swing and a miss. That's it for prep fire. So next is the German movement phase. The 4-6-7 will hop back to F9. This 4-6-7 will hop back to I8. And the 8-0 leader and squad here will move there. That's all for movement, so now it's the defensive fire phase. And the 4-4-7, holding down the fort in building N4, will use point-blank fire to hit the Germans next door with an 8 plus 3. The roll of 7 plus 3 is 10, so no effect. Then the comrades in K5 will target the Germans in M5. That will be an 8 plus 2. The roll is 8. Plus 2 is 10, so no effect. Finally, the guards squads in H5 with 1 LMG will fire at L6. That'll be an 8 plus 1. The roll is 6 plus 1 is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The Germans will roll that 1 morale check, leader first. 10 plus 1 is 11, so he breaks. Now the two squads. 7 plus 1 is 8, so 1 breaks. 5 plus 1 is 6, so the other is okay. The squads will roll their leader loss morale checks. The broken one, 6, okay. The other, 4, Okay. That's it for defensive fire. So now it's the advancing fire phase. The only advancing fire will be from I8 versus K5. And that'll be four plus one. The roll is 8 plus 1 is 9, so no effect. Next is the rout phase. And the only routing will be the leader and squad here, who will duck back to L7. Next is the advance phase. They will go back to F8. These fellows will go up into I7. The 8-0 leader will go back here. The squad will advance out into the street. And then the M5 gang will advance into close combat with that 447. Let's move everybody off to the side like before. Place a close combat counter on the board. And this will be exactly like the previous close combat. The German attack will be a 2-to-1 using the leader's -1, while the Russian attack will be a straight up 1-to-1. Let's do the German attack first. They need to roll a modified 7 or less to kill. The roll is 6 minus 1 is 5, so they eliminate the 447. But now the Russian squad gets its chance. It needs a 5 or less to kill the 1467 that it's attacking. The roll is 7, so no. We'll put the Germans back in N4. We'll move the Russian squad up to the dead pile. And with that, the Germans now have sole control of building N4. But there's still one more turn, of course. So we'll see what happens in turn 5. All right, Russian turn 5. It is the Russians' last turn. Rally phase. The squad up in N2 will try again. It rolls 6, so it rallies. A die will be rolled for the broken MMG. Hey, 1, so it's repaired. That's bad news for the German squad down in the street. Anyway, speaking of the Germans, the leader in L7 will try to rally. He rolls 5 plus 4 is 9, so no. But the squad can still try because of the 8-0 leader. It rolls 4 plus 4 is 8, so no. But they do lose the DM counter. That's all for the rally phase. So next is the prep fire phase. Everyone in F6 and G6 and H5 will form a fire group and target the Germans in I7. With one broken squad in G6, that will knock the fire group's firepower down to 25. So it'll use the 24 column here on the IFT. It'll be a 24 plus 3. The roll is 8 plus 3 is 11, which is a 1 morale check. The Germans will roll that 1 morale check. Leader first. 6 plus 1 is 7, so he's okay. Now the squad can apply his -2. It rolls 5 minus 1 is 4, so it's okay. Next, guys in K5 will fire at the Germans in the street down in N6. That will be the 4, 6, 7 will roll that 2 morale check. It rolls 7 plus 2 is 9, so it breaks. That's it for prep fire. Next is the Russian movement phase. But there is no movement. So next is the defensive fire phase. The 4, 6, 7 in F8 will fire at the Russians in G6. That'll be a 4 plus 3. The roll is 9 plus 3 is 12, so a big miss. The broken guard squad does get DM'd again, though. Okay. Then I7 will also fire at G6. That will be an 8 plus 1. The roll is another 9. Plus 1 is 10, so a miss. Then the squad with the HMG will fire at K5. That'll be an 8 plus 3. The roll is 4 plus 3 is 7, which is a 1 morale check. The Russians will roll that 1 morale check. Leader first. 6 plus 1 is 7, so he's okay. And now the squads can apply his -1. So it'll be a normal morale check for them. The 4, 4, 7, 7, so it's okay. The 6, 2, 8. 8, so it's okay. That'll be it for defensive fire. Next is the advancing fire phase. But there is no advancing fire, so that takes us to the rout phase. The only routing will be the broken German squad, which will go into N5. Next is the advance phase, and these two 447s will slide down into N3. And that sets the stage for the end of the scenario with German turn 5. So, let's see what happens. Okay, German turn 5. It's all coming down to this. It's the rally phase. The only rallying will be here. The leader 10, so no. Squad 8, so no. Let's ditch the DM counters. Now it's the prep fire phase, and let's just get right to the main event. The two 4.67s and MMG will fire at the two 4.47s next door. With point blank fire, that'll be 24 firepower, -1 for the leader, +3 for the building, so a 24 + 2. The roll is 4 + 2 is 6, which is a 4 morale check. The Russians will roll that 4 morale check. Squad number 1. 8 + 4 is 12, so breaks. Squad number 2. 10 + 4 is 14, so also breaks. And folks, that's the game. The German player can claim the victory, because no matter what happens anywhere else, the broken 4.47s will have to route out of the building. And that means the Russians captured 2 buildings, but they lost 1. So they failed to meet the victory conditions there, and they are nowhere close to having a 3-to-1 advantage in unbroken squads on the board. So the Germans win. All right, that was the Guards counterattack, squad leaders scenario number 1. I'm glad it came down to the last turn. I've played this scenario before, where it has been over much sooner than that. But I don't think it's all that unusual for the game to come down to control of building N4, since it seems like more often than not, with average luck, the Russian player can capture buildings F5 and K5, and so then if the German player can get a sufficient force over to building N4, then that's what it comes down to. But your mileage may vary, since there are a lot of different directions things can go. In any case, as I said, the Guards counterattack is a pretty special scenario in the squad leader world. So I had a lot of fun making this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And as I sign off, I'll just say thanks for watching it. I appreciate it. So until next time, keep calm, roll low, and take care.